Hello, thanks for watching. Andy here, and time to talk about shifting and changing because that's what's happening with all the energy. I talk a lot about that in the astrology videos, which, by the way, are still going out on Astro Truth as well as this channel now. And it is a constant shift, it is a constant change. Just me running two YouTube channels is quite a big change for me. Having success actually with it as well, and meeting people all over the world suddenly more than usual. That's great. There's a lot of really great positive things around for me at the moment. Mostly to do with YouTube the last few weeks, and things just kind of seem to keep getting better, which is fantastic. But it's not all easy, it's not all smooth. I can think of quite a few, less happy stories I could tell about the last few months, and I bet we all could, because life is change. If things didn't keep changing, life wouldn't be life. But as we go along the spiritual path, we're always gathering more and more knowledge. And this is the same thing that comes into any aspect of spiritual work or just even spiritual contemplation. And I often talk about it. It's the thing of superhuman knowledge coming from the universe. Actually, superhuman is almost an understatement. I mean, it's all the knowledge that there's ever been, all the knowledge that there's ever going to be. And we learn a lot from that knowledge. I don't know if any human being is ever going to live long enough to actually absorb it all, but there are some old souls who've incarnated many times who show massive wisdom. But superhuman knowledge being funneled into human minds is a very difficult thing. And even for many of those old souls, when they first become aware that they're, got a spiritual mission, or become aware that they've lived many times before, it comes as a shock to them. It's a big adjustment because we are all born into this world. Some of us are empaths, and as we walk along that path, we suddenly find we're much more aware of the suffering of other people. I know when I took Reiki 1, it was the first spiritual healing attunement that I ever took. So in a shop called Avalon in Northampton. Haven't been there since actually, because I don't live in Northampton. It's just one of those happenstance things that came up and happened. And from the first moment that I had that attunement, I became more sensitive to things like just seeing suffering going on around me. And then as I went further along my journey with Reiki, I just couldn't eat meat anymore. I hadn't eaten a lot of meat prior to that, just because I don't, trust the factory standards, the way farms are run these days, and big pharma as well, the pharmacology companies, because I've no idea what they pump into animals. I see it going on around here actually all the time, because there are still some cattle farms here in West Wales, haven't all gone through yet. And I'm sure we'll need them actually, the way the world is going, to feed ourselves again. And I well remember the last time I tried to eat a beef burger. I have actually eaten meat from, a good butcher, or, a good reliable source, a farm that I know is good to the animals, where everything's safe. I've still eaten that kind of meat, but I tried to eat a beef burger, a bird's eye beef burger. I don't know if you guys, wherever you're watching this in the world, would know bird's eye, but it's a big brand of frozen food in UK. And they're not the cheapest, but they're certainly not the best. And it's frozen, frozen meat. And I could almost kind of taste the badness in it, what suffering the animal had felt. Maybe that's just because I'm more aware of it, I don't know, but it felt to me as if I could taste it, and I couldn't stand the smell of this thing. And I threw the rest of them away, and I haven't gone back to it, because for me, that knowledge that I've had really since maybe the 1970s as a child, becoming more and more aware, just from looking around me, I could see, because there were farms closer to town in those days before they'd all gone bankrupt, and I could see that it just wasn't a brilliant life. Animals didn't seem to be treated very well when they came past in farm lorries. So much has changed in that sense, but I'm afraid behind the scenes it's not really great. It's kind of rather more humane, but if someone was going to cut my head off, I think, to me, the inhumane thing would be that they were going to cut my head off. That's just my view of it, but I see that more and more, and I can't ignore it. There's a movie called The Network, I think it's called anyway, and there's this guy in it who looks like a kind of a televangelist, but he's on TV telling people to stop watching TV and ranting at them. because somehow along his spiritual path, this character has become much more aware of what happens to people and what is being done to people by media manipulation and just the governments of the world, the large organisations of the world. Some of them don't know they're doing it, but they're just kind of going along with the way everything is. But that is the way the world is going. Someone once said, going to hell in a handcart if we can find £1 for the supermarket trolley. Because we have to put £1 in British supermarket trolleys to get them out. Otherwise people nick them and they disappear and they end up in rivers, which isn't good. But I digress, as I so often do. The crystal path, sometimes it's like this rose quartz here. Absolutely kind of smooth and lovely and beautiful and full of love. And we do get many more of those moments when we become more aware of the spiritual side of life, because we're drawn to meet with other people who also appreciate those things. So that's the real happy side of it. And there's also this side of it, which I think is well demonstrated by this little tiny amethyst bed. It's an absolute beauty, very small, but look at the tiny points on it. Every one of those points has a very high amethyst vibration. And that's something else we find, a bed of crystals. Somehow we're healed. Somehow we have fewer kind of health problems and things for most people. And I realise that isn't the case for a great many people. But most of us find that we have better health than we would have had otherwise. Because I think the spiritual part of the mind awakens more than anything. It could be the crystal path, it could be any spiritual type of contemplation or work or light work, whatever you want to call it. But it's like having a bed to lie on. It's something you can always fall back on. It's a place you can retreat into and rest when the tarot deck gives you the Hermit card and you've got to go into yourself for that. Because the Hermit always has a lantern. Don't forget that. There is always light in the darkness. And the crystal path will shine light into the darkness. It really will. But sometimes you get this. And I've had this out of the ground for a couple of days. I must return it. But I just really like having this. Just hold it up close to the camera there. You can see some very white shiny bits. It's actually all like that if I scrub the mud off it. But I'm not going to. I'm going to return it to nature. I just brought it in to show you the other day. But can you imagine what it's like when you walk on that with your feet bare or in, very thin slippers or sandals or something with a thin sole? That really digs in and hurts. And I'm afraid that is another side to the crystal journey and the spiritual path generally. Some of the things we stumble upon can be quite painful to see. And that then ties in with what I was talking about with meat and being able to be more and more aware of that. So last night, a lady was chatting through the message, through the comments, I'm sorry. And do leave me a comment below if you'd like to talk about any of this, because I do enjoy these conversations. I was talking to this lady and she is becoming more and more aware, really, of, I suppose we could call it the matrix. And she's beginning to see grids, the way things join up, the way things link up. And I've seen that kind of thing in my meditation. And she was saying, what should I do? And I feel that the answer is not necessarily to do anything to begin with, because it's becoming aware of a new thing. It's very difficult for anyone to understand it. There's only so much of what I've seen spiritually that I can explain to other people, because it's like karma. It comes in a parcel, especially tailored to you. But I keep coming back to it. Life is change, and the changes that are going on around us, they may be positive and they may be negative. If I poked my camera out of the window now, we wouldn't actually see any chemtrails because the sky is absolutely blanketed out with clouds. But on a clear day, I can see those chemtrails, contrails, perhaps they call them that now, I don't know. But it's certainly a confidence trick, no doubt about that. But that kind of makes me angry, and if I was kind of a football guy or a soccer guy and I went out and just kind of drank a lot and tried to forget everything, then I could ignore that. It wouldn't be a hard thing to ignore at all. And it is very easy for so many of us to ignore the natural changes, the changes in the natural forces of the earth, because their power is the same as ever, but the way they're kind of I don't know, encased in concrete, whatever you want to call it, but somehow it's stifled by the way the world is, and it seems that it's getting worse and worse. But we're coming back to the whole idea of creating your own reality now. If we all get together around the world and decide that it's terrible, we're not going to have any cash, we're screwed, we're all going to be enslaved by aliens. I watched Alex Jones as well. And I like the guy actually. I don't like his racist stuff, and I think he was too aggressive, but I like the guy. But there's an example. See, Alex Jones, I think he's fairly genuine. I mean, within reason, because he was kind of a Bible preacher, essentially, when he began, and he's changed tack and he's gone where the money is. But, fair play to him. Now he's gone where the money isn't, and he's still doing it, still trying to come back here and tell us what he believes. So whatever he's discovered has driven him a bit nuts, I think. And I say that with great respect to the man, because he's still working away there. But I've seen things that have shocked me in meditation. Beautiful things, really. But, it's not the things I've seen that have shocked me. I mean, it's shocked me when I've kind of come back to the real world. I almost haven't wanted to come back to the real world. But the real world is where we are. One of the greatest spiritualist mediums that has ever taught me, as I was learning, is a man who'd been working for decades and decades, right back to the old school mediums. One thing that he said very strongly on the course I was on just before I started doing mediumship myself, he said, you live in this world. Don't forget, you live in this world and you must stay grounded. Many people get this wrong with grounding and protection. They think you're kind of hanging onto the ground. You're not going to fly anywhere or have any experiences because you're so grounded. But the whole point is, the more grounded you are, the higher you can fly, because the angels won't let you go to the point where you're going to get damaged, going to get kind of hurt, as long as you hold that intention of grounding and protecting, because it's not an easy journey. And we do see things that shock us, and they shock us all the more because of all the wonderful love and light that we see in our spiritual reflections. And there is love and light everywhere. I say it all the time to people as a greeting, and I do that for a reason, because it really is what I believe is the best thing you could give to somebody. And that's the thing that you could call it the spirit world or the universe, or just that's life. Just, you don't have to be spiritual to notice this. I really don't think you have. You could just decide that's life. So the thing to do is hang on to this world for dear life, because this is where our life is, and it is a beautiful place. Most of the terrible worries that we have are spread by the media, and I know world governments don't really behave themselves very well anymore, if they ever have, which is something I doubt actually. But there's always hope, because it's a big illusion. I really see it living out here in the countryside. Oh, there's nowhere we can build houses for people. There just isn't. We've got money because we're good with money, but there's nowhere to build the houses. And out here in the countryside, well, where I live, they couldn't build many houses because it's on the side of a mountain. Someone just built this place long centuries ago to be able to be here living on the farm as they were living their life. But there is plenty of room about where houses could be built, and yet, oh no, we can't build them. It's terrible about the homeless crisis, and we care, but there's no chance we can build houses. No. And the illusion is that everyone lives in cities and that you can't live anywhere unless it's a city. And really, when I travel to the city, which I do now and again to go and visit the spiritualist churches down Swansea way, it's a long way in the countryside, and you get very close to Swansea and the houses start building up, and then you can see it all coming, and then you're in town. But it's really only a small percentage of the world, even though the great majority of people now live in a city, or at least in a suburban area or a smallish town really near to a city. The city's almost becoming mother, but we shouldn't forget, really mother is earth. And that's something that gets me really quite annoyed and quite animated sometimes if I'm going to be angry about anything. That's where it comes, because we have got this wonderful natural earth. I can see it out my window now. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's horrible to see it being destroyed all the time. But the authorities aren't going to stop anytime soon, as far as I can see. And why worry about it? Keep on with this wonderful knowledge, this wonderful light that we all seek to walk in when we're on the spiritual path, because that is where the answers will come from. It really is. And a final thought about that, just to kind of put a bit more hope into the picture. I really am very keen on theories which say that the world is very much older than we think it is, and that there have been human beings for a lot longer than we think there have been. And when I think about that, I realise that there have been many civilisations like this before. They've built up, and it's not that everyone's died. You find plenty of evidence of people having survived. Things have simply changed, and things have simply moved forward. But there'll have been an ice age in between, or something, or maybe they'll all have nuked themselves. And this planet has never ever let them get away with it. So we shouldn't worry too much about being destroyed. I'm just saddened to see people wantonly destroying it, which is going on all the time. But she'll save herself. She really will. So that big thing that I've come to see that disturbs me, I don't want to say that I'm not disturbed by it anymore, because I am, and I think we've got to all stay concerned, stay, on the case with it, but maybe not actually allow it to become a disturbance. Maybe not lose sleep over it, because then we can't really do anything about it. We end up trying to pour from an empty vessel, because we're all kind of anxious about everything to do with the world. And gosh, everywhere you look in the world, there's something you could become anxious about. So keep it real, keep it in this world, but I'm not saying don't act on these feelings when we go through a shift and we start becoming aware of disturbing things. Those things, that knowledge has come into us for a reason, and will do us a power of good if we live with it calmly, without trying to change everything immediately. The ideas will come, and we'll change our place in the world, and we'll be an example to other people, and everyone gets to go forward. That's where the hope is, and I know it's a pretty hopeless looking world, I really do, but hang on to that. They've never yet managed to destroy it. The governments of the world think they're pretty clever, think they've got all the armies ready and they'll just blast us all to death. Don't believe the hype. No one wants that to happen, not even, the ultra rich. I don't care what anybody says, nobody wants that to happen, I'm sure of it. Okay, friends, well, there we go. If you've enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, you know what to do. Leave me a comment. We'll share the journey. Share me around the internet if you wouldn't mind, friends. It helps me get the word out, just if you can. It's not always easy with YouTube, but you can hit the share button and, you can copy the link if you want to. Get the word out. Great stuff. Another subscriber giveaway coming up soon. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but Crystal's clock is on her way to her. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a great time, and I'll see you soon. Bye.